Why do you want to retire, or why is retirement the goal? I received some pretty interesting retirement advice and information after posting my last video about my month one retirement budget, and I'm going to share those interesting facts and information with you today. I'm Melinda, and I retired last year at the age of 52. Went back to work for a year, and now I've retired again. And these are some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that people shared in the comments in my last video that's kind of shocking, interesting, and shocking. I know I said I was trying to get away from a list, but for some reason I always come up with a list of things. And I worked on this script and journaled about this on September 11th, so I have 11 things. I'm going to share the 2 or 3 most shocking and or interesting tips at the end of this video because I am a verbal processor, and as I talk these through, I might have some better information on my last 3. I have a feeling you guys are going to have a lot of comments, so feel free to comment as we go as I talk about these things. If you've watched a couple of my last videos, my goal was to get 1,000 subscribers, and I got 1,000 subscribers, but I had no idea how to interact in the comments very well, and there were lots of comments. I had no idea what it was going to mean to get 1,000 subscribers, so thank you for that. However, now I don't really know what to do with 1,000 subscribers other than hopefully provide you with information that's valuable and helpful if retirement is your end game. The first thing and the easiest thing to do is to start tracking your expenses. So if you're 2 or 3 years out from retirement, you want to track expenses specifically, not just kind of. I think I started out kind of tracking my expenses. You want to literally track them. If that means going back in your mobile banking account and writing down every expense, I would do that. For example, you can go out and write all of the times that you went to Walmart and what you spent. That's where I could save the most money. I mentioned that instead of going to the super center, I go to the neighborhood Walmart, and there's not as much to buy, so I don't spend as much there. But tracking your expenses as far as gas, groceries, fun, clothes, shoes, candles, air fresheners, yard equipment, flowers. What are you spending most of your budget on? And track that for a couple of years and see where your money is going. Because I'm going to talk about non-negotiables, and you might have some non-negotiables in your budget. I got should on a lot in my last video about what I should be doing and what I should have in retirement. And one of those things is a savings account. And I do recommend having savings, whether it's the Dave Ramsey method of $1,000 or a month's worth of savings or a whole year's worth of savings. I don't know the exact answer to that and what is or isn't the best idea. I think people talk about how much savings you should have, but they don't come back and talk about, okay, I'm glad I had this savings because this happened. I think people assume those things are going to happen, or they want to plan for those things to happen, but savings and credit cards are not savings. So if you've paid off all your credit cards, but now you don't have a savings account, knowing that you have unlimited credit cards available, don't think of that as a savings account. Like if something bad's going to happen now that I've paid off all my credit cards, I'm going to use those if something bad happens. That's not the advice that I would give or I would want someone to give me, which leads me to paying off credit card debt. I did pay off my credit card debt, and it was the best thing ever. If you don't pay off your credit card debt and you retire and you're only paying the minimums, or you're trying to pay off one at a time, then it's not going to get any better. You're still going to have credit card debt, and the interest isn't getting better. You're still paying. If something does happen and you do use your credit card, it's just a cycle. Credit cards just spiral out of control. I would pay off credit card debt. Know what's coming up for you. This was another huge issue in my comments on my last video because I mentioned that I have 2 daughters. Therefore, that means I have 2 weddings and I have prom. So I'm thinking about upcoming prom, upcoming weddings to plan for, and then I said something about their college education unless is paid for unless they're going to be career students. And the comments that I got back were that I don't have to pay for my kids' college, I don't have to pay for my kids' weddings. And that is true. I hadn't really thought I wasn't going to do that because my parents did that for me, and I'm successful and not entitled and don't think I'm selfish and spoiled. But I desire to do those things for my kids. I want them to have a nice wedding. I'm not talking about an elaborate, ridiculous wedding. I'm so glad that Pinterest wasn't around when I got married years ago. I'm just talking about I want them to have something nice, and I wanted or thought to pay for their college if needed. And no, I hope my kids are not career students. I just recommend that you predict what's coming up for you. Some people can retire and there's still big events to come. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't have retired because I have those things coming. It just means I needed to have a plan for those things if my choice was to retire. I don't mean to be a downer on this topic, but you be thinking about if you are going to be alone. What if something happens and you're going to be alone when you retire? I had originally planned to retire at 25 and out, because in Missouri in education that you can do that, and get another job or get a part-time job or do something, because I was married and we had two incomes. When I got divorced, I totally forgot about retirement and didn't even think of that. And that was 9 years ago. I had to make a new plan. I wasn't going to be able to retire at 25 and out. If I did, I would have for sure had to get another full-time job. And I did like what I was doing. If you think that you're going to be alone in the future after you retire, what's that going to look like for you? Whether it's a spouse or a divorce, if something happens to your spouse and you're retired, what does that mean for you? Is there life insurance? Do you get their pension? Do you get part of their retire? Like, what do you get? That sounds so terrible. But what do you get from that if it ends up after you retire, you're going to be alone? That changes the game. Something that I continue to do is to research insurance. And in my situation, I could have stayed with my district and paid my own insurance and just used whatever they did all of these years. I chose to go away from my school insurance, and I got a better plan that had a lower deductible this year because I had a hysterectomy back in March, and that was going to cost me $1 bazillion. Actually, when I looked back at my bill, I think over the course of all of the emergency room visits and everything that happened leading up to my hysterectomy, I think it was $45,000. And once my deductible of $500 was paid, I paid nothing else. I paid nothing on prescriptions. I pay nothing to go to the doctor. I pay nothing for the rest of this year because I paid for a lower deductible. Now, my insurance payments are probably higher, but a lot of people I know in these videos are telling that insurance was $2,000 a month, and I'm assuming they're paying for their whole family to be on their insurance. Unfortunately, I'm only paying for myself, but research insurance. Can you get insurance through the hospital, an independent person? Luckily, I talked to my friends. Talk to your retired friends about insurance, but talk to multiple people about that. I know that insurance is a huge game now and it's super expensive and it just keeps going up and getting worse. But I recommend that you research insurance. Originally, I just stayed on my school plan. That was the easiest thing for me to do. But then once I started researching it, there were some better plans and I did those. I have some friends that retired that they're pretty healthy and they think they're going to be healthy for a while. So they have a really high deductible and a low payment. However, as we get older, things happen that we have to be prepared for. At this time, I think I'm healthy after my hysterectomy and other things that happened, but you just never know what's going to happen. Financial advisor. I don't want to stay on this one very long because there's so many retirement channels out there that talk about getting a financial advisor or that they are a financial advisor and can tell you what to do. But something I didn't do was get a financial advisor, and some people were really off-put about that on my last video. I do recommend that. Even though I didn't do it, I probably will do that in the future. These next 3 or 4, I don't know what number I'm on, I'll figure it out when I watch this back. These are pretty big ones. First of all, What are your non-negotiables? I'm going to give you an example. One of my non-negotiables is I want to be able to get my nails done. And I have to figure out, do I have that in the budget? Can I put that in the budget? Is that something I can continue to do? Yes, it's non-negotiable. I want to get my nails done. Many people may not care. You quit work, you don't care what you look like, you don't get your nails or your hair done anymore. That's up to you. I love all those things, so I am going to continue to get my nails done. What are your non-negotiables? Maybe coffee is your non-negotiable. Maybe that first drink of the warm cup of coffee just blesses your soul and you have to have that. Then budget that. Maybe you want to keep your nice car or you want to get a new car. I mean, it's up to you. There's no retirement rules. What I felt like after posting my budget videos, there's all these rules that I'm not following or I should have done it a certain way. And that's so not true. Everybody can do retirement their own way, which leads me to downsizing. That was a big one that was brought up in the comments or people reached out to me, is that they downsized, and they downsized their house, their car, their material possessions, everything. And yes, I could do that. I did say I downsized my car, which in turn I have less payment for gas, but I don't have plans to downsize anything else yet. I know I eventually will, and I do need to get rid of material things. And that led me to the people who gave up everything. They don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. They budget to the penny. When I retired, I wasn't going to give everything up and stay in my house all the time. But that's what a lot of people have chosen to do, is they just want to be home. They don't want to go to work. They don't want to go out. They don't want to travel. They retired so that they could enjoy their home and their hobbies and the things that they do. I don't necessarily know that that's I have learned that I love being home and I love all the projects that I have around my house, but I didn't retire to lock myself in my home and not go anywhere. But that may be your choice. And that's why I mentioned at the beginning, why do you want to retire? What's your goal in all of the retirement discussions? I don't know if this is number 11 or not, but don't wish it away. I was wishing my time away probably for the last 3 years because my job was hard. I don't recommend wishing it away. You can start planning retirement and start thinking about retirement, but find what you love about your job. I've been an elementary principal for 20 years. I had to go back and remember why I did it and find out why I loved my job. And I started doing more of the things I loved in the last few years of retirement, so that when I did retire, I retired on a high note and it wasn't just to get out. Yes, in the back of my mind, it was just get out. I totally wanted out of my job. Don't wish your job away or don't wish your time away. You're going to look back like I do on those 3 years, and they were hard. After COVID, working in public schools, it was hard. I think I missed some things. I just wouldn't have wished it away. I'm not telling you all these things to panic, and I'm not shoulding on you. These are just things that I've learned and things that people have said in the comments that have resonated with me right now. And I'm learning a lot about the whole retirement process. I have so many ideas. I have a retirement mental health video in the works. I have a celebration video in the works. There was more with the retirement niche than I had ever imagined. So stay tuned for some of my upcoming videos that I've already scripted.